So are you a female leader who has been told you're too powerful, and has that left you a little bit angry and confused because you like being the high achieving, ambitious, smart woman you are, and you don't think that you're unapproachable? You don't think that you're unwilling to collaborate? You don't think you're not a team player, or your standards are too high, or you're hard to work with, or any of these other things that you may be hearing? Well, if you're in that position, I'd like to help you out with some things you can do and some things you can think about that might help you find your own path through this thorny issue. So welcome. If you don't know me, my name is Mari Giaser, and I am a presentation coach, and I also work with helping people develop executive presence. And this thing about being too strong is something that a lot of high-achieving, ambitious women get. So what we know statistically is that women tend to be penalized for being strong. Men tend to be seen as leaders for showing the same strength behaviors. And yet, when it comes to plum assignments, wonderful promotions, awarding high dollar contracts, sometimes the woman is not chosen under the justification, didn't know she could make the hard calls. Well, if you can't show your strength, how can you show people that you can make the hard calls? It's a bit of a catch-22. So part of it is a catch-22. It's out there in the world. But part of it is there are also things you can do about it, and that's what we're going to try and do. So I'm going to give you 5 things that we can do to work with this. And the first thing is really pick your battles. Decide whether this matters. Sometimes when people tell you that, the answer is, yeah, well, that's one person's opinion, and you can just keep being your strong self in the world because that's a wonderful thing for all the women around you. However, there are times where strategically you may decide that this is something you need to work with, or you may decide that there may be a kernel of truth in that criticism, even though it might be blown out of proportion. If that's the case, then we can work on some other specific things to help you out. And the first is something called verbal priming. And what verbal priming is it's using a short, emotionally evocative sentence to set up your emotional desire to work with somebody, and therefore to subconsciously prime them to feel good about that. So it's very simple things. I'm happy to work with you on this. I look forward to collaborating on this. I'm excited to share this data. I'm pleased to announce that we've found this new path forward. Very simple phrases, but they have an impact. So often we just simply say, setting up a meeting for next week, we're ready to go. Instead of, I'm excited to let you know we're ready to go for next week and I look forward to collaborating. So I encourage you to do that verbal priming. It actually has an impact. You can do it in the beginning of meetings. You can do it when you're introducing new topics within a meeting. You can do it in emails. You can do it in meeting invites. Go to town with it. Just don't do a lot of sentences. Don't gush. A single phrase, a single sentence, and move on. But your body needs to support what you're priming. And what I mean by that is you need to have open body language. Your focus needs to be on the person or people you're working with, and you need to gesture and use your hands. So sometimes we can just cross off our body language in ways that may just be we're cold, or we're just resting our back, or we're thinking about something, but that is going to make us instantly less approachable. So make sure that your throat and chest are open and your hands are out. Also make sure you're not cold shouldering people. I've heard people do, well, I'm really excited to have this meeting today. I'm really happy that we can go over some of these things and collaborate on some great solutions for the client. What's this? If you're happy and excited, why is the paper getting it? Why am I not getting it, right? So make sure that you're looking at that person. If you are on a camera, do not be looking at your replay of you What you see on the screen, be looking into the camera lens. And again, gesture. Some of us have been taught not to gesture. That is a false thing. When we can't see somebody's hands, when they're behind their back or under the table or in pockets, a subconscious primal instinct of possible threat goes out for us. This is hardwired into human brains. Everybody's got it. They are probably not at all aware of it. But the minute we can see your hands, we trust you more, and we trust that you like us more. Use your hands and gesture. Along both of these lines of really being present for people and using your hands and having great body language, I want you to make sure also that you're not too close to the camera. In these days when so many of us are doing virtual meetings most of the time, a lot of people are doing their meetings like this. And this is mimicking being in somebody's personal space. It's a little bit like I'm picking a fight with you. Not to mention nobody's at their most attractive at this angle. So don't do that. Make sure you've backed up from the camera. Instantly makes you more likable. So if you're priming with words saying that you're excited and your body is showing that you're excited, you've gone a long way. Also be sure to use vocal variety. Don't talk in a monotone. That also will let people think that you are unapproachable, uninterested, or just don't like them. So we want to do all those. And then the other thing I want you to do is make a list for yourself of 2 or 3 word positive interjections. Things like nice catch, good point, great detail, important reminder, and sprinkle them into your conversation. Even the people you think are the most self-confident, even arrogant people often have a tiny bit of self-consciousness that can make them feel disconnected or judged even when that's not your intention. But if you gush, that isn't going to work either. If you gush to somebody who's a lower status than you, that's going to seem patronizing. And if you gush to somebody that's a higher status than you, that's going to seem like you're kissing up. However, if you do the 2 or 3 words, drop it in and move on, it won't seem or feel inauthentic to you if you've come up with words you actually like beforehand, and it won't feel out of place to them, but it will create more of that warmth and connection feeling, because we're not trying to reduce our strength, which a lot of people do. We're trying to take our strength, keep it there, and reduce and increase our warmth to match it. Our goal is to have matched warmth and strength. I said in the beginning that we know women are unfairly judged when they show strength, too much strength. But it's also true, studies show that across the board, people that have very well matched high levels of both warmth and strength are seen as very charismatic, very influential, very trustworthy, and that's who you want to be. So you can use all these to up your warmth, keep your strength. And then one final note, and this is particularly for women leaders. If you have to deliver difficult news or go against somebody's viewpoint and be adversarial, be sure that you are framing it whenever possible as fighting for someone else instead of fighting against whatever the opposing idea is, or fighting for yourself. Women are unfortunately really penalized when we fight for ourselves, but we are often rewarded when we fight for someone else. So to give you an example, you might be in a meeting, you might be talking about deadlines, and you might be tempted to say, I can't make that deadline, I'm going to need to move it out to the week after that, which is true and, seems factual. However, that can be seen as you being selfish, whereas a man, it would be seen as being matter of fact. So your next question would be, well, what happens if I can't make that deadline, right? And you might say, well, that's going to back up other people on the team, so that you can then fight for the other people on the team and say, I want to make sure everybody else on the team has what they need to do a great job. I know I'm not going to be able to get that done by that deadline, which is going to cause roadblocks for other people. So let's move it. It's a little extra effort, but it can be worth it. So, recap what our 5 points were. Decide, pick your battles, decide if it's worth it. If it's worth it to work on this, then we're going to work on it by increasing our warmth through priming, quick sentences that help people set up a positive intention for what we're doing. We're going to have positive body language and show our hands. We're going to use those quick interjections, great point, nice idea. And if we are fighting, we're going to fight for someone instead of against someone. If you do all these things, then you can keep your strength. You can stay the brilliant woman you are, but you hopefully will also find more doors open for you and you get a little bit less of that pushback. You'll get some of it, but if you get less and you keep being your brilliant self, that's what matters. So thanks so much for joining me for this one. Hope to see you on another video.